is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about some ADP underreactions as well as underreactions for your 2022 fantasy football drafts. We'll start the video by discussing 3 players whose situations have changed for the better or worse, and the fact that their ADP is not moving. People are not reacting to what has happened to each player. And then we're to close out the video with 2 players whose situations have changed for the better or worse, and their ADP has overreacted immensely. But before we can get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So we'll begin, like I said, with 3 players whose situations have changed for the better or the worse, and their ADP is not moving at all. That first player is going to be Travis Kelce, tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs, ADP tight end number 1, pick 11.6. Even going back to last year, Travis Kelce was a first-round pick, and his situation is a lot different in 2022 compared to 2021, and that is because their number 1 wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, was traded for a zillion picks to the Miami Dolphins. Now, is Tyreek Hill this crazy target hog when he was in Kansas City? No, but he was the number 1 wide receiver on their team, so losing him could potentially mean that with the wide receivers they filled in this roster with Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, the receivers they drafted, that Travis Kelce could potentially see a bump in targets. And with how much he has been targeted in the past, this could mean that Travis Kelce is locked and loaded as the tight end number 1 in fantasy football. He is coming off the board as the tight end number 1 again, pick 11.6. So he is a first round pick in about 99% of drafts. In basically every single draft I have been in, he has went inside the top 12. I've seen him go as early as inside of the top 8 of picks. Most people aren't crazy enough, though, to pick him inside of the top 5. So in 2021, Travis Kelce played in 16 games, finishing as the tight end number 2.5 PPR and the tight end number 2.5 PPR points per game. The only tight end he was behind was Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. Travis Kelce had 135 targets, 8.4 per game, ranking second at tight end, 92 receptions, 5.8 per game, second at tight end, 1,125 receiving yards, 70.3 per game, ranking second at tight end, and 10 total touchdowns, number 1 at the tight end position. And those fantastic numbers were with Tyreek Hill, who finished as the wide receiver 6 last year in half PPR, and the wide receiver 7.5 PPR points per game. Tyreek Hill had 159 targets, 9.4 per game, ranking 7th at wide receiver, 111 receptions, 6.5 per game, 3rd at wide receiver, 1,200 plus receiving yards, 6th at wide receiver, and 9 total touchdowns, 10th at wide receiver. So while Travis Kelce had this fantastic season, only Mark Andrews outscored him at the tight end position. Travis Kelce still had to deal with Tyreek Hill dominating in the offense. Now, does that mean that Tyreek Hill going to Miami means that Travis Kelce is going to see all of his targets, get like a 200 target season? Of fucking course not. That would be insane. We do not expect that to happen. They bring in these other wide receivers for a reason. But even with them bringing in these wide receivers, trying to fill the immense hole that Tyreek Hill leaves, does that mean that Travis Kelce is not going to potentially see a target boost? I don't think so. I think Travis Kelce is going to potentially see maybe going from 8.4 to 9.5 targets per game, maybe 10 targets per game, and that could mean so much for Travis Kelce. And his ADP earlier on in the summer, when we saw Tyreek Hill on the team, or not in the summer, I guess, earlier on in the offseason, when Tyreek Hill was on the team, Travis Kelce's ADP was basically fucking identical to what we have right now. So maybe we see Travis Kelce get 12, 13 touchdowns, a little bit of a boost from last year. Tyreek Hill isn't necessarily this red zone threat who's going to be catching a lot of balls there, but it definitely does help out Travis Kelce, and I think his ADP should have moved a little bit higher than where it is at right now. Next up, we move to another player whose situation has changed. Instead of for the better for Travis Kelce, this time for the worse, with running back Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns, ADP running back 13, pick 26.4 off of the board. The biggest change is them basically kicking Baker Mayfield to the curb. Baker Mayfield has not been traded yet. It came out today that the Browns are basically trying to do everything. They're going to eat half of his contract. They're going to do whatever the fuck it takes to ship this guy off to another team. Where will he go? Maybe Carolina, maybe Seattle. We don't know right now. But what I do know is that Deshaun Watson is the quarterback for the Browns maybe this year. Maybe, I say, because it came out a couple days ago that the NFL wants to lay the fucking Thor Mjolnir hammer down on Deshaun Watson. That Deshaun Watson is going to potentially see a full season of suspension. Now, I didn't believe that was what was going to be the case a couple of months ago. I thought, oh, 8-9 games, and then bam, we see Deshaun Watson back. At this point, it seems like it's going to be the whole season. And if that is the case, it seems like people aren't reacting enough to that and the possibility of that, because I'd say there's probably like a 90% chance right now that Watson does not step on the field for the Browns in 2022. Now, could he be back in 2023? Definitely. But in 2022, we're talking about redraft fantasy football. We're talking about one fucking season. And if Deshaun Watson isn't there, and they don't even have Baker because they don't want Baker anymore. They said, I don't want you anymore. You ever seen Toy Story? And when Andy throws fucking Woody and he's like, I don't want to play with you anymore? That's basically what the Browns did to Baker Mayfield. So now Nick Chubb's going to have Jacoby fucking Brissett. Jacoby Brissett as his starting quarterback. Things in Cleveland are going to be down astronomical. Nick Chubb, I understand that running backs can dominate on bad teams, but Nick Chubb is not this workhorse running back. Sure, he's going to get a lot of carries every single game, but he doesn't make up with the fact that when they're down in the game, they're probably going to have to be throwing the football. That's how things work. And they don't throw the ball to Nick Chubb. They're going to throw the ball to Kareem Hunt if Kareem Hunt is healthy. And I think Nick Chubb right now is being overdrafted for the situation that he's in. Again, at the end of the day, is Nick Chubb some shit tier running back? No, Nick Chubb is actually really good, but the issue is the situation that he is in. In 2021, playing in 14 games, he finishes as the running back 11.5 PPR and the running back number 10.5 PPR points per game. He has 228 carries, 16.3 per game, ranking 8th at running back, 1,259 rushing yards, 89.9 per game, ranking 2nd, 25 targets, 1.8 per game, 54th, 20 receptions, 1.4 per game, 55th, 174 receiving yards, 12.4 per game, 47th, and 9 total touchdowns, 14th at running back. Again, it has nothing to do with the talent, the skill set of Nick Chubb. You can make an argument that in terms of pure rushers in the NFL, not incorporating the receiving upside, his receiving talent, this guy is amazing. He is one of the potential top 5 running backs in the NFL. And honestly, if Kareem Hunt wasn't there and the team gave him the opportunity to catch passes, I think he's not Derrick Henry, right? He doesn't have fucking stone hands. He can catch the ball. If they actually gave him the opportunity to catch the ball, then Nick Chubb could dominate in fantasy football. But with Jacoby Brissett, with the limited receiving upside, I see really no way that Nick Chubb finishes inside of the top 12, and that's basically what you're drafting him to be. And people are going to say, but Nick, he's coming off the board as running back 13, so you're not drafting him to be a top 12 running back. When I'm drafting a running back outside the top 12, I am assuming there is a chance they finish inside the top 12, especially at running back 13. And Nick Chubb, to me, just does not have it. So with the team he's got right now, I do not trust Nick Chubb at all. Before we move on into my final player whose situation has changed for the better or the worse and their ADP is not moving, before we also move on into the players whose situations have gotten better or worse and the ADP has fluctuated a lot, we got to talk about our friends and our sponsor of today's video, and that is Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the single number one, numero uno, best place to play fantasy football this summer. Best Ball Mania 3, their brand new tournament, has $10 million in total prize money. You just draft your team, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. My favorite part about fantasy football, I say this during every ad read, it's 100% true. My favorite part of the fantasy football season is drafting. I love drafting the team. I love just sitting down, drafting a team, seeing what kind of a team I can concoct. And now, you don't have to worry about calling up Jim from the office. You don't have to worry about calling your friend and trying to make some trade happen, right? You don't have to worry about that. There's no trades. You don't have to worry about on Tuesday night sitting at your computer like a degenerate doing 50,000 waiver wire claims, right? You don't have to do that. There's no in-season management. The computer automatically on Underdog puts the best scores in for your lineup every single week. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted their team in June. Today's June 19th, so there is no reason to wait. You can draft today on Underdog Fantasy. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up using promo code AWESOMO. Promo code STOCHASTIC also works as well. That's good for 4 entries into the Best Ball Mania 3 tournament. So you deposit $100, that will give you an additional $100. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store. Just click on the link in the video description down below and sign up using promo code AWESOMO, AWESEMO, or just click on the link in the video description or in the pinned comment. Back on into the video, my final player whose situation has gotten better or worse and the ADP is not reacting at all is Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, current ADP quarterback number 6, pick 63.1. I think in a lot of your at-home leagues, people are going to be sleeping on Jalen Hurts. He's probably going to go a little bit later than that, probably as like the quarterback 8 or 9. In 2021, in 15 games played, he finishes as the quarterback number 9 on the season, quarterback number 6 in points per game, tied with Mr. Discount Double Check, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, the State Farm boy. He had 432 passing attempts on the season, 28.8 per game, 21st at quarterback, 3,144 passing yards, 209.6 per game, 21st, 61.3% completion percentage, 16 passing touchdowns, a 3.7% rate, 23rd at quarterback, 9 interceptions. That doesn't sound great, but the reason why Jalen Hurts is so fucking good at fantasy football is because this guy will juke a DB out of his socks. His shoes will fall off trying to tackle Jalen Hurts. 140 carries, ranking number 1, numero uno at quarterback, 782 rushing yards, number 1, 10 rushing touchdowns, number 1. Now, am I guaranteeing you, the viewer, that Jalen Hurts is going to be the number 1 quarterback in terms of all of the rushing stats in 2022? No, because Kyler Murray will be healthy, Lamar Jackson could be healthy, and they could easily outrush Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts should definitely finish inside of the top 3 in all categories. And now, the reason why Jalen Hurts' ADP should be moving is because they trade for A.J. Brown. But Nick, the Philadelphia Eagles offense isn't super pass heavy. I understand you don't need them to be pass heavy for Hurts to succeed because, again, the rushing upside is so immense for him. But what you need to understand is going from Devontae Smith, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor, all of these shit tier wide receivers besides Devontae Smith. He's pretty good. Obviously didn't have the greatest of rookie years, but he's a pretty solid wide receiver. And they have Dallas Goedert, who's pretty good as well. But now they have A.J. Brown, who arguably might be one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. And they get him. I understand this isn't the most pass-heavy team in the NFL, but what I do know is that adding a wide receiver, a stud in A.J. Brown, who, again, you could argue might be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. He might be based upon skill set. He's never put up the crazy numbers because he's going to be on the second team that likes to run the ball a lot. But at the end of the day, again, this wide receiver addition, one of the top premier wide receivers in the NFL, is now on the Eagles, and his ADP is barely fluctuating at all. No one seems to understand the fact that A.J. Brown is going to mean a lot for the growth, potentially, of how good Jalen Hurts could be as a player, for the fact that now they are trying to see if Jalen Hurts is the franchise guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But what I do know in 2022 is the addition of A.J. Brown is going to mean a ton for Jalen Hurts' upside, and I love Jalen Hurts in 2022. Now, pivoting into the other part of the video, the other half of the video, and that's going to be 1 to 3 players whose situations have changed for the better or the worse, and their ADP has overreacted, beginning with Hollywood Brown. Marquise Brown, wide receiver of the Arizona Cardinals, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens, ADP wide receiver 16, pick 35.9 in 2021 for the Baltimore Ravens. He plays in 16 games, finishing as the wide receiver number 23 in half PPR and the wide receiver number 26 in half PPR points per game. He has 145 targets, 9.1 per game, 9th at wide receiver, 91 receptions, 5.7 per game, 12th at wide receiver, 1,008 receiving yards, 63.0 per game, 23rd, and 6 total touchdowns, 20th. He probably should have had, 8, 9 touchdowns. If you remember that game up against the Lions, he dropped like 2 or 3 touchdowns that were no doubters. And that's the problem with the no doubters, right? When it's a no-brainer, the ball's like right there's no one even around you. You just catch the fucking thing, it's a touchdown. That's when you start overthinking it, right? When there's a guy on you, the corner's right on you, the DB's pushing up on you, maybe you make the crazy play, right? But if you drop it, no one's even that mad. But when you're wide open and you drop it, people are like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. This guy stinks. And I had him in DFS that week. It hurt my brain. I was very sad. But at the end of the day, Hollywood Brown is still a good wide receiver. But I believe, even though Hollywood Brown's a great wide receiver, even though I like him in fantasy football, I think people are a little too high on Mr. Hollywood Brown. Again, not a bad player, but I understand. But Nick, don't you know that DeAndre Hopkins is suspended? You dumbass, he's suspended for a couple weeks at the start of the season. He's gonna miss like half the season almost. That means, Nick, that Hollywood Brown's gonna play really good in those first couple of games. And I agree. I kind of sounded a little bit like, oh, Herbert. I wish I could do Herbert the pervert from Family Guy. That's kind of what I sounded like a little bit there, a little whistly at the end. But, there's a huge but, Kim Kardashian style. Marquise Brown, half of his season is going to be with DeAndre Hopkins. And I understand DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a great year last year, but it's not like DeAndre Hopkins fell off the edge of the fucking earth, right? Like what Christopher Columbus thought was going to happen if he sailed. Maybe Christopher Columbus didn't think that. That's just what people thought. At the end of the day, it's about ADP overreactions and underreactions. And I think people are overreacting heavily to Hollywood Brown. I think when DeAndre Hopkins is back, he's going to be the number one guy on the team in terms of targets. He's going to command a large target share in this offense. And that is going to hurt. That is going to dismay, I don't even know if that's the correct word to use here, but that is going to hurt Hollywood Brown's upside. So I'm kind of staying away right now. I understand the upside is there. The first couple of games, dude, this guy is going to be on fire, but I think he's going to go up and then crash down. So I don't love Hollywood Brown this year again. He's a great player. The situation, though, it's going to be so good, and then it's going to go so bad, and people are going to be pissed off about Mr. Hollywood Brown again, assuming DeAndre Hopkins still has it, which I do think. I still think he's one of the better receivers in the NFL. Not a top 5 guy, but definitely top 12 in terms of talent in the National Football League. Now we pivot to the final player in today's video. We've actually already talked about his team, and that is going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back of the Kansas City Chiefs, ADP running back 26, pick 78.3. The biggest two changes in the situation for the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously, the number one would be Tyreek Hill being shipped off to Miami. Number two is they add a legitimate number two running back, I should say, behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Ronald Jones. But Nick, Ronald Jones fucking sucks, blah, blah, blah. That's what people are going to say. Ronald Jones is a legitimate contender behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But at the end of the day, now you're not drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be a top 12 running back. You're not drafting him in the first 2 rounds. You're now drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 7th round. 8th round in some drafts. People have completely changed. The pendulum has swung the opposite direction on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. People were on their knees gawking Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and now people fucking hate Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And in redraft leagues, people hold grudges. People will have drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire before, and now they fucking hate the guy. They hate the guy because he burned them last year. Anakin Skywalker style. He got burnt last year. You got burned by him. He sucked. But he only played in 10 games. He was not healthy. And I think in 2022, if he's healthy at this discount, people are so heavily overreacting to what the fuck happened. Clyde Edwards-Helaire could still be a top 12 running back. Now, you're not drafting him to be that. You're drafting a running back 26. Right? I don't think he's going to be a top 12 running back, but could he be? And he's being drafted outside the top 24. People have overreacted immensely to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And his last season, 119 carries last year, 11.9 per game, 43rd at running back. 517 rushing yards, 51.7 per game, 43rd at running back. 23 targets, 2.3 per game, 57th. 19 receptions, 1.9 per game, 56th, and 6 total touchdowns. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't have this amazing season last year. But again, he's still a talented running back. He's still the number one guy in my book. I think you're going to be a little bit pissed off at times when Ronald Jones subs into the game and just barrels his way into the end zone, right? Because Rojo's he's not this huge back, but he's definitely a lot bigger than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is kind of on the smaller side. Don't really know why they drafted him in the first round, but, you know, it is what it is. That's what happened. Now Clyde Edwards-Helaire is at a supreme discount. So again, I'm not in love with Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a player, but I'm in love with the immense amount of value that you can get at running back 26, pick 78.3. So let me know down below in the comments section some players you feel like people are overreacting to and some players you feel like people are not reacting really at all, and they should be. Let me know down below in the comments section. I hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day. Make sure you check out Underdog promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, for a $100 first match deposit bonus, or promo code STOCHASTIC. I love you guys all. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy.